The Legislative Service Commission 1257, which is the Council on Efficient Government. This authorizes state agencies to outsource goods or services to a private contractor under specific contractual provisions. Then we have House Bill 65, which is Representative Stoutberg and Representative Schnitzler, which is state government performance audits. And what that would do is allow the state auditor to conduct performance audits that will assure accountability and guarantee our tax dollars are spent most cost effectively as possible. Then House Bill 25, which had its first hearing last week, which takes consolidating 24 agencies down into 11. Through attrition, we would reduce 60,000 state employees down, 11,000 employees would leave through attrition, and we would find savings of over $1 billion annually. So those are the three bills that we've also added to the list, and at this time I'll turn it back to Representative Morgan.
Thank you, John, Ron, and Peter. Terry, Jim, anything to add? No? I guess you hear three consistent themes through these 10 proposals. You will hear the theme of efficiency, the theme of accountability, and the theme of transparency. All three very important to protecting the taxpayers' dollars and providing for a smoother budget that perhaps serves the people of Ohio better than what we have seen in House Bill 1 and now in the correction, the multiple corrections, but the most recent proposal of House Bill 318. We believe that if our counterparts on the other side would have taken some of these proposals seriously at the time of their introduction and maybe would give heed to some of the proposals that we are about to introduce, as you've heard here today, that you would see a more efficient, transparent, and accountable government that might serve the taxpayers better and in a more cheap and efficient manner, and that's what we're gearing for. Again, we would call on them to be open with their ideas rather than just taking more money off the taxpayers' tables, to follow our lead and perhaps proposing their own ideas for reform. We obviously will be happy to work with them when they do that. We're hopeful that they will either hear these ideas and in a bipartisan manner support them as they either continue in the legislative process or are introduced here shortly, or that they will do as they did with the economic development proposals and maybe supply us with some of their own concepts for government reform, which I think at this time is not only what the people of Ohio are asking for, as we have found for our independent research, but also what we know is best for not only the government, but also the people of Ohio as we move forward in rebuilding an economy that is broken and needs rebuilding. I think at this point, we'll be happy to answer any of your questions, and we very much appreciate you coming.
You just talked about getting people on the other side of the aisle to take these proposals seriously. I'd like to ask you about people on the same side of the aisle taking them seriously. If these are 10 great ideas, should we expect that when Senate Republicans come up with their version finally of, I think it's House Bill 318, if they don't like the tax cut freeze, should we expect to see all 10 of these in their package, or if not 10, 8, or 6, or 5? I mean, are you convinced your own Republicans to back these over in the Senate, where you really do have some power?
John, I appreciate the question, and the answer is I'm not invited to the Senate caucus meetings. I wish I had a better answer than that. House Bill 25 does have a companion piece, which at least over there has received, I think we're up to what, 6 hearings, five or six hearings. I know that when we introduced the Future of Ohio package as it related to jobs, we have picked up a good amount of momentum on some of those bills, specifically one I know for sure that Representative Schnitzler and I are introducing that deals with the trade unions and skilled workers. I would expect to see that again. I think the Senate, at least from my perspective, and I speak for myself, I sense more frustration from them because of their dealing with 318, and I get the sense that they're also exploring all options. I believe they're doing that. I don't have any idea what will come out in their version of 318. If you do, I'd love to hear, but I've not heard what that might be.
Is now the time for them to do that, though? I mean, isn't that
a
good vehicle to...
We obviously believe it is, or we would not be here holding this press conference. These ideas, some of them are not new, as you know. House Bill 25 was introduced back in January. Others were introduced, I think, in February. Some of these ideas will come shortly. Part of the reason that we chose to focus our next round of effort after addressing jobs, which we are continuing to address. In fact, we have meetings today that will continue to push forward our jobs package, not only the 10 that we've produced, but also ones that we're continuing to look to produce. But we believe now is the time, as it has always been, but specifically now, to really spearhead this conversation that has not taken place, at least in a meaningful way from our perspective, on government reform.
To deal with the short-term budget problem. A lot of these issues seem to be dealing with more longer-term cost saving. What should they do to deal with the problem in front of them?
I don't want to continue to hog the microphone, but I'm going to go.
Well, I'm not going to speak for the Senate, but first of all, let me pick up on what was just talked about in the question that we just had. I don't think these ideas today are partisan ideas. These are ideas that are much bigger than any party. So I don't think it's just a question of seating them into the Senate Republican caucus. We're trying to seed them into all 4 caucuses. And I think some of these ideas have already been seeded over there. We'll see if they get traction with any of the Republicans over there. That remains to be seen. As it relates to your question, Jim, we proposed cost containment ideas over here, and we think that's what needs to be considered. The Medicaid arena is a galloping, not a galloping horse, but a galloping herd of horses that is just eating up the budget. That's been admitted by folks who aren't particularly conservative even in their outlook in our hearings that we had here in the House. So that's an example of a focus that could be achieving some cost savings within this fiscal year, and certainly next fiscal year, if we focus on it seriously. And there are opportunities there that aren't going to hurt little people, which is what Medicaid serves. There are other, Medicaid doesn't send money to little people. It sends to people that provide services to little people. So think about that equation. All right, there's also the House Bill 25 efficiency. That can start to save money next fiscal year if we get serious about it. I don't think we know how much until we get further into the development of that. But those are both cost containment ideas that are alternatives. Whether the Senate picks up on those is hard to say. I'm not going to predict what they're going to do.
Bill, Senator or Representative Adams said you were in the Senate, so what do you think is going on over there? You must have a historical perspective on what they're doing now. You were the majority over there.
They're having a round of competing ideas come forward, and those are coming from every member of the caucus that wants to engage, and I think many of them are. At some point, though, they have to reach a consensus of what they're going to do to go forward. They aren't operating in a vacuum. They're reacting to a proposal that the governor made and that the House has adopted. So, that's the environment that they're working in, and they can't ignore that. What they're going to do with it is harder to predict. A lot of people are speculating that they might do something parallel to what happened in House Bill 1, but I'm not going to speculate that because I don't know.